Yes, it is recording.
It's recording?
I think so.
Alright, cool.
The red light's
I got one right here, Tim. Yeah. Carrying engine part. Joe knows how to carry an engine part. You got another one of these pieces of cardboard for me to look at?
I do. I can get it real quick. Here, talk to your camera.
Yeah, I don't need to talk to the camera. That makes me nervous with that head up there. That's fine, as long as I can lay on it and pull these things out, shove those up. Hard part. I knew it was.
You know what this?
I need to get under there. Because Tim's not there. Hey Tim. What? You want impact gun under here so I can pull these caps off? Like I told you 3 times? Oh, you want another one there? Alright, so we need to turn that engine. Get a wrench or something in there and turn it so that the piston comes down. I'm actually quite surprised that drum went bad. There's one.
I'm not even sure if I've got a good view or not. I really don't.
Well, I was. I'm not worried about it. When I use the Plasti dip on it, then I'll know for sure. I will. Alright, hold it there. What the hell was that noise? The bar hitting the thing. Probably doing something really wrong. Wow. Well, that cap is on there. Alright, give me an impact from socket, because 13/16 standard, I'm just going to break it. Okay, good morning. So this is kind of disheartening. I don't feel well. I've got Lyme disease. My stomach is like, I feel like a Teletubby. Unable to, do my normal business during the day. So I'm not doing too well. So this engine is kind of back on hold. I do have sunshine today, tomorrow, and the next day, so I got to make a lot of hay. So the engine is just going to have to sit on the sidelines. But other than that, it looks okay. That journal, the way I see it is, Timothy came around the corner with that 4960, and when he pulled up to me, he slowed the engine down, and then all of a sudden, there was a lot of vapor came out the bottom end of that engine through the vent on the engine. And I was like, what the hell is that? Shut it off. And he shuts it off, and was like, well, that's weird. So he started it back up again, and that vapor went away. Well, that's when that bearing, it actually went around a couple of times in the connecting rod, and then we pulled it into the shop, and of course broke it down, and that was it. So the end cap had loosened up a very small amount, like a small amount. It wasn't that the bolt was like falling out loose, but when we took it off, it was just like, it wasn't a firm when you break them loose after they've been torqued down like that. It was just that was a little bit looser than it should have been, that kind of thing. So I'm not really sure what happened, other than that cap may or may not have loosened up in that before this thing failed, or whether it was just time to go. But I do know that the bearing went around the rod a couple of times. Seemingly zero damage to the rod. You can see that it had taken the edges off of off the bearing, the little tabs that lock them in place on the rod, if you know anything about these engines. And it just really just took those off, if it went around 5 times, I'm surprised. So I don't know. I think I'm going to probably replace the rod. The crank itself was embedded with bearing material, but I've taken emery cloth and I've cleaned it off. I won't know until I use the plasti gauge on that journal and see if it's within tolerance. So I've got the thing out. I want to finish cleaning it up because that bearing material is softer than the crank and it will stick fast to it. I've put bearings back in tractors that looked worse than this, to be quite honest with you, and ran them for thousands of hours later. I had a 4020 one time that the cap actually did loosen up, and it was going knock, 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 all the way, knock, 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 all the way back to the shop, and I dropped it down, and I put, I cleaned the journal up, and then I put the new bearings in, and shit, as far as I know, that engine's still running. I just changed the bearings in it. Well, I know the people that owned it, they sold it later. And all I did was clean up with emery cloth. And that was in pretty bad shape. Those journals were pretty bad. The plasti gauge that I used on that was in the outer limits of its tolerance. But, with good oil flow, you probably wouldn't have any issues with it. So, anyway, that's just what I see. I'm gonna use the plasti gauge. I have it, and we'll see if it is out of tolerance or out of too far out of its operating range. I'm not just going to throw a larger bearing in there, or an oversized bearing, or a 10 over or 10 under, whatever they call it. 10 under. It would be 10 under because the crank has worn, but it isn't. If it's worn that bad, it isn't worn round. It's worn lopsided, and that'll cause a big problem. Would probably have to be ground, or I just get a new crank and throw in there. The crank's going to be $1,000 or whatever. I don't know. I haven't priced a crank for it, but we'll see. We'll see, and I'll put it back together again. And if it is within tolerance, then so be it. We run it, and that's just the end of it. It's my tractor. It's not like I'm going to sell the damn thing. If I put it all back together and in 20 hours I hear bang, 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 then I pull that engine apart. I drop that crank. I replace the rod, and replace the crank and that rod, and it's a whole bunch of work for nothing. But it's easier to split a tractor and then drop the bottom end out of it than it is to have a tractor's engine ripped all apart and then have to split it. It's a nightmare. Trust me, I did this once on a 4020. It was on a 4020 I did it once. I do that thing. I had a rear main oil seal leak, and I had the transmission all the way apart, and I pulled the ass end apart. What a nightmare. But just trust me, it's easier to do the job and then tear it apart later than it is to do it this way. But anyway, hopefully I get my hay made. I got a big job brewing here in about a month. Well, it's going to be a month. I told the guy, he wants me there in 10 days. I can't do it. 10 days from Thursday, I can't do it. I don't think they're going to be ready for me at that point anyway, but I just can't do it. I got too much work to do. And me sitting here yammering on is not going to get this job done. But I do have another job brewing off the farm, and I have to go deal with that. And it's going to be a couple months long, believe it or not. And hopefully everything works well. I'm hoping everything works well. I got a new purchase coming in, which is kind of a surprise to everybody, but I have to actually finalize that deal. I've went and looked at the machine, but I haven't finalized the deal. I need to really get a hold of them this morning, but with the way I feel right now, it's crappy. But other than that, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for this engine and the new purchase that will be coming through these doors here pretty shortly.